Good afternoon to all. I'm very happy to moderate this session on bioeconomy. Can inclusion, innovation, and sustainability align? So I think bioeconomy concept is new, and I think the concept has also gained a lot of interest over the years. Bioeconomy is generally seen as a shift in economic paradigm, and I think is also toward an economy which is based on renewable resources and capable also of achieving sustainable goals. So if we look at the bioeconomy pillars, in fact, we see that these are all aligned or in combination between sustainability or sustainable agriculture and forestry. So one of the key pillars of this. Biotechnological innovation. So the biotechnological innovation is also a pillar which is, in fact, the idea of using biotechnologies for improving industrial processes, creating, for example, new products, and also enhancing the value and biological resources. Also, use of bioenergy, and also circular economy and resources efficiency. So these are all really embedded in the concept. So the concept is not really a simple one. It embeds a number of concepts of, for example, circularity and also regenerative economy, and then it becomes into the overall concept of bioeconomy. But it's really central to what we want to achieve for our economies overall, to protect the environment and also to conserve it, and to enhance the biodiversity. So these are all very important concepts which are embedded in a concept of bioeconomy. And I think, obviously, as soon as we are able to define in a narrow sense bioeconomy concept, we could, in fact, understand a little bit the policy actions that we would like to put in place, and also to give incentives to the economies to move into that direction. But of course, importantly, is to ensure that a clear understanding between bioeconomy, also regenerative economy, which is quite now a concept that is gaining a lot of momentum, and circular economy are important to interrelate, in fact, with this concept of bioeconomy. So in reality, we are in a way moving into a change of economic paradigm, but then I see a number of concepts that are really interrelated and very similar in one way, or also different at the same time, that are really gaining momentum. And obviously, these are all good development. We see it clearly, because they are much aligned with the SDGs and eventually post-SDGs. So normally low carbon economy and circular economy, these are really aspects which are very much emphasized since many years now, and many companies and many stakeholders in the economies are, in fact, investing in this, particularly, for example, in terms of the allocation of financial resources or investment. But then at the same time, it's important to be specific. So in fact, I see the danger that all these concepts are not only interrelated, but then they are overlapping over time. So I don't know what it means in practice, because at the end, if we're moving into, I would say, a regenerative bioeconomy and that is circular, this is also quite important, and this is where we would like to achieve at the end. But then it's important, for example, for investors and for financial players to have, I would say, a specific understanding of this economy, and understanding also the technological and the scientific underpinning behind all these concepts. So for sure, from a science perspective, we need to decipher a little bit more the science behind all these concepts. This is important. And then we agree at the policy level, for example, which are the concepts that we would like to have prominent in the bioeconomy concepts, strategies, and later on policies. So these are one aspect that I would like to share with you today in the discussion. No? So my second point is which are the business models, in fact, that we know, the practices that we know today for the bioeconomy concept, and then what can we build on in reality? So really, what can we build on what has worked? Because every new concept is also, I would say, sometimes opens the door to a Pandora box. And then sometimes we don't know where it will take us, right? So this is also important to understand a little bit the scientific underpinning of each concept. Obviously, based on the science and the reading, I think they make a lot of noise. We'll try to shout so that we can understand each other. Yeah. Based on the research, there is a lot that has been done in the agriculture sector, in the bioeconomy itself. So are we really talking about a move of the agriculture sector into a bio type of economy, or we can talk about other sectors which are also moving into this bioeconomy? So I really would like to have this understanding whether we are going to be confined with the agriculture or forestry sectors, or in fact we are moving into a broader aspect of it. So if we look at the European definition, so the European definition states that all sectors and systems that rely on biological resources, animal, plants, microorganisms, and derived biomass, including organic waste, their functions and principles. So this is very interesting, but then it leads me to think that we are, I would say, thinking of the new agriculture system or agro type of systems. So it's quite specific, and I would like to understand a little bit how we could open a little bit the definition to, in fact, understand which are other sectors that are, entering into this definition. So the second point is, if we, go deeper into the definition of the European Union, it also includes many aspects of regeneration and circularity. So where are we putting the line, or whether we would like to put a line onto this economy that is emerging? I know that there are several national strategies for bioeconomy, not only in the European Union, but also beyond the European Union. So we can learn a little bit more on the practices and what has been done specifically to this sector. So this panel, at least, would like to understand all of this, and probably we could open a little bit more the discussion beyond what is already done, but then based on the expertise of each one of you, to understand which is the understanding that we would like to give to this sector. What would be the role of the government policies and regulation if we are already advanced in this development? And also to better understand which are the innovations that are already existing, and which are the potential innovations that we could have going forward. And then I go back to my initial point and to say that how you can see the overlap with regenerative economy and circular low-carbon economy, and where to place the bioeconomy in the overall construction, and whether you see like the bioeconomy driving, I would say, our economy is going forward, probably post-SDG, because we are very close to 2030 now, beyond 2030, whether you see those developments. So with this introduction, I would like to welcome our panelists. Our panelists today, we have Elena Pita, who is the director at the Biodiversity Foundation at the Spanish Ministry for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge. This is very good that you connect both. Second is Jose Pugas. He's partner and head of responsible investment and engagement at the GJP Asset Management. So I said,
almost there. JGP,
yes. So no, when I read, I thought maybe JP Morgan. No.
No. We are not that rich.
That's fine. So, and
Still.
Julia Wolf, who is a natural resources officer at the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. Gonzalo Munoz, UN high-level climate champion COP25 and chair of non-state actors pillar at the COP28 Food System and Agriculture Agenda. Thank you very much for being with us, all of you. And Fernanda Faccini, head of climate change, circularity, nature and co. Natura and co. So it's a private company or
a private company.
A private company. Okay. So here I gave some ideas, and I would like to ask each one of you to give an introduction of no more than 5 minutes based on the topic that I shared with you, and then give your perspective. So we have different perspectives here, and happy to hear each one of you. Please, you can start, Elena.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Speak loud.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Does it work? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much for all those questions. I would like to start by saying that the name of the entity I belong to is Biodiversity Foundation, so it's very clear and transparent. Our entry point to bioeconomy was through conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of biodiversity. In fact, after the pandemic, when the Next Generation funds from the EU arrived to Spain, we were in charge of implementing some biodiversity policy and trying to channel all this interesting opportunity for funding to the territory, with a special focus on this paradigm shift you mentioned before, this transformation of the economy that needs to be undertaken to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. And this is why we didn't want to do regular or the traditional conservation projects, which are also very important and need to be done and tackled. But we wanted to find what is the space or on what kind of activities conservation can be a driver for economic development. And this is how we design a call for proposals for bioeconomy projects. So far we have delivered 20 million euros for 14 projects that are already under implementation. And now our experience from these projects is that, well, many of them are related to of course, to agriculture and cattle, also to the forestry sector. The main sustainability impacts are all those projects, of course, contribute to conservation in one way or another. So they they apply good practices that preserve biodiversity, and not only they try to be nature positive, but also have a positive impact on economy in the sense that they promote diversification, they promote different product strategies and diversification in the commercialization, for instance. They promote job creation somehow, and we had a very, very high demand. We had 20 million euros, and we received proposals for more than 140 euros. We found it 40 million euros, yeah, sorry. And we have funded 14 projects, and we received more than 130 proposals. So we have leverage, in Spain, national level. So we have leveraged additional money, and now we are working on bioeconomy, and on another bioeconomy call for proposals that focused on forestry. And also we have leveraged additional money because we think this is an opportunity.
The majority of the projects are in the agriculture sector, or on which sector?
It's agriculture on the one hand, restoration on the other hand, because plant production can also be an opportunity for business, for instance, and forestry. And we think forestry is also is a very interesting sector. And maybe to conclude this first intervention, what I think is interesting is to see in the definition of bioeconomy and the concept, as you say, it integrates somehow this concept of planetary boundaries that haven't been so closely or so haven't been integrated in the economy, maybe so far. So.
Thank you very much, Elena. I thank you for sharing with us the result of your call, and already 120, you said, million.
20 million in the first call and 77 million in the second
it's
call.
Almost 100 million is quite an important amount as the starting point for Spain only. So it would be interesting to see at the regional level, at European Union, how much this economy is. I say, what is the volume of this economy at EU level? Though it would be interesting to know that. Thank you very much again. So, Jose, please.
Sure. I think there is very strategic to start with this taxonomy and major difference between what bioeconomy is for us in Brazil and what bioeconomy is for Europe. For us, bioeconomy is much connected to non-timber forest products. It's much more connected to regenerative culture is regenerative culture. Biofuels is energy transition. For us, bioeconomy is connected to what happens on the forest, what happens on the different biomes. So when we look for biofuels, following your European taxonomy, we are quite well solved. It's a sector that is very well known by the financial sector. It's very well funded, both by private and public sources, and very, very efficient in international fundraising. So it's not a problem for us anymore. Biofuels is very well established industry in Brazil. But when you look to bioeconomy, and when take bioeconomy by the Brazilian definition, we don't have a taxonomy yet, we will next year. But by the common definition now, it's mostly connected on the forest, not only on Cerrado, but mostly on the forest, on tropical forests, Amazon and Atlantic rainforest mostly. And it is much connected to non-timber forest products. And a lot is happening on that sector. I don't think there is a new sector. In matter of fact, it's a new sector for us at the financial sector, but it's something that is being put in place for the last hundreds of years. We are the ones learning now. And when we look, for example, to cocoa production, to cacao production, when we look to coffee production, most of those crops, they were originally agroforests. We were the ones that put them in monoculture approach. And now we understanding that was the worst choice possible because they are not climate smart when in monoculture. But when we start approaching on agroforestry, something different operates, and it's magic. First of all, because we stop depending on carbon credits. When you create something that we call productive restoration, we start restoring areas that are actually integrated pastures with agroforestry, not with traditional afforestation with native trees. Only 46% of the total revenue is from carbon credits. All the others are from products. We are not talking about premium prices. We are talking about regular prices, because you have companies such as Natura, is one of the top 5 largest cosmetic companies in the world. There is proudly Brazilians, and they give us the commercialization and the trading supply chain so we can sell our products. And what's the financial sector approach to that? Because something new for us. What is really new for us is how we should adapt our mandates, our way of finance, to the cash flow of the projects, how we could be closer to what's happening at the ground. The financial sector is not very good on that. Not in Brazil, not everywhere in the world. Most of our mandates and strategies, they are written in our offices, not in our forests or in our farms. So there is a major disconnection between what the capital demands and what is really necessary at the field. So I think that Brazilian financial sector is very sophisticated and much faster than the other places in the world. That's why we are going so fast to invest on this kind of bioeconomy. Personally, at JHP, we are one of the top 3 largest in Latin America, and independent asset managers. And when I look 3 years ago, we have 0 investments on bioeconomy. When I look now, just here at the COP, we launched $70 million in investments, not promises, not fundraising, but real funds for bioeconomy. And it's just a share of something much bigger. When we look at our pipeline, our pipeline currently have a little over $400 million in nature-based solutions, mostly in bioeconomy. And we've been doing that in the last 2 years. And we're doing that by ourselves. But I think that the real revolution is not on the financial sector, it's on the corporations. When they start transitioning their supply chains from monoculture to agroforestry, we start seeing the real change coming, not just for Brazil, but for everywhere else. But there is a failure in the system, and that's my last line, because I know that I have a very tight schedule here. When you look at how it's distributed, the finance for this transition in Brazil is coming from Brazilian corporations and domestic market. Even that most of our agricultural production is for exporting. Yeah. So when a European company announced pledge to be regenerative net zero, it needs to change their supply chains, and the supply chains are not in Europe. So the transition of Europe depends on the transition of Brazil. But the transition finance for Brazil doesn't come from Europe. So there's a major asymmetry that we must solve. Otherwise, we will be subsidizing the net zero in Europe from Brazilian pockets. It's not fair.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Jose. I think you mentioned very important points from the investment side, and you were saying that it's 500 million only on Brazil market.
Only on Brazil market, only in nature-based solutions, and only at JGP.
And these are all compliant with ESG?
Sure.
Yes?
Yes. We follow the IUCN definitions of what agroforestry is. We have a major project in Brazil called Innovative Finance for Amazon, Cerrado, and Chaco that created a bioeconomy taxonomy for Brazil, for agroforestry, and we are following those same standards. And I can assure you that the standards that we are following in Brazil, if not the most robust, is among the most robust in the world. We are very good at creating taxonomies as well, after many, many years adapting taxonomies that were written on the global north that doesn't fit for us at the global south, we start writing our own. And our, most of the times, are much more robust and connected to reality on the bioeconomy mostly.
So you mentioned that you have a definition in Brazil of bioeconomy. Can you remind us of this?
We have a common definition, not a taxonomy. The taxonomy will be put in place on the next year. It was under consultation this year, but I don't think that bioeconomy for Brazil will host biofuels, for example. Okay. It's well established on agriculture and energy transition. But for sure, we need to have a translation between different taxonomies. Probably the taxonomy would be unique of Europe, but as the Mercosur European Union trade agreement wasn't signed, I don't think that this homogeneity will be put in place, unfortunately.
So there is a work to be done between Europe and Brazil on aligning the definitions and what is inside this economy.
Sure. But
is it really needed?
Yes, it's totally needed. Otherwise, we'll be speaking something different. For example, if I have a mandate on a financial institution in Europe that says that they can invest only in bioeconomy, and the definition of bioeconomy in Brazil is different from Europe, the capital will not be allowed to go to our bioeconomy in Brazil.
I see.
So the way that the mandates are written at the financial institutions, at our funds, defines where the money is allowed to go. If the definitions are wrong, there will be no cash flow. The trade finance will not be a possibility. And we understand that for the best connectivity of capital between global north and global south is through the bridges that were already built. And the only bridge that has always been stable between Europe and Brazil, for example, is the trade bridge, it's the commercial bridge. So you need to start using that as a way to allow capital transfers between Europe and Brazil. But in order to do so, we need to put taxonomies in place. If the financial taxonomy is different from the trade taxonomy, what is going to happen is that the financial institutions will not be able to join, the European will not be able to join, but the corporation in Europe will. And as we know, the balance sheets of the European companies are already under a lot of weight from this pressure of that. Europe can't finance through corporations the rest of the world. The financial sector in Europe is very shy compared to what is in the US or what is in Latin America. And once again, there will be a missed opportunity for Europe, not for us. We know how to finance ourselves, but it will be a missed opportunity for Europe for sure.
Yeah, it's very clear that we need to have more harmonization in many things, and I don't see the global trend going toward harmonization, but rather into much more fragmentation, unfortunately.
I'll let Gonzalo to answer that.
Yes, that's what I see from what we hear, but anyway. So I would like to move straight to Julia. Julia from FAO, what is your views? And FAO is an international organization. So probably you see a role there also.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And thanks to Spain for inviting FAO to this very important panel. I'm quite intrigued from what you say, Jose. So for FAO, I'm working in a unit that is called Climate Change, Biodiversity and Environment. We don't have a biodiversity division, but we have a team that is working with all the FAO member governments on also definition questions, right? So now I have nothing for you today ready-made, but I can share with you that we at the moment orient ourselves to the 2020 Global Bioeconomy Summit definition that is kind of was discussed, and it helps guide countries and regions. And for FAO, the bioeconomy term is actually a framework that really can help to transform the agri-food systems in a sustainable way. And no, I mean, I invite all of you also to reflect and refer back to the Emirates Leader Declaration on sustainable agriculture and resilient food systems, because I think this is from a political point, and since we're here, it's very interesting where things can come together and maybe allow a clearer language for this very important point between what are some of the really real life implications in terms of hard money, being invested. So I really appreciate that. So for FAO, and just to trying to contribute to this discussion, we see bioeconomy as a driver for innovation, which is not necessarily always the case in sustainable agri-food systems. No, it can also be like conservative, right? So that really gives an extra push. It's from microbiome, which you mentioned. I paid attention. Science alternatives to animal source proteins, crop genetic resources, bioplant products, such as biofertilizer and biopests. And apologies, I'm reading that, but I'm not part of this bio team yet. Maybe that will happen if we... So we're kind of trying to catalyze the different ingredients or the different mini stakeholders, if you want, if you can call seeds, soils, plants, trees, fish, animals, fungi. They're all in some way assets, right, that can really be used in a new way. This is where the innovation comes in, and this is where the finance needs to be coming into place at the national and local level. So FAO has been really driving this group. We have an internal FAO International Sustainable Bioeconomy wide working group. And why FAO has a role in some way, it's because we have an FAO, we have the different committees where we actually talk with all the member countries. No? So FAO has this capacity to really create a dialogue and eventually have a conclusion in terms of a definition that is all like endorsed by all the FAO member countries, which is almost like all the 195 countries we have in the world. Let me also really reflect that we did a big push at COP27. COP28 is really important with the leader declaration, but I also wanted to mention the CBD, not the COP50 Montreal Protocol, because this is also where, in some way, the bioeconomy term has a convergent function between biodiversity and climate change and pushing for innovation. And last but not least, just on this very introductory points, I'd like to flag that FAO now has been working on a dashboard. We have been looking at all the existing bioeconomy strategies in the world, and on our website you can find a dashboard that really kind of maps out, as we've been doing for the NDC, right? This NDCs, it's kind of interesting to see where countries are at in terms of their bioeconomy strategy, vis-a-vis climate strategies, vis-a-vis development strategies, etc. And I leave it here for now.
Thank you, Julie. I think there is a lot to do. Also, eventually, to think of the interaction with health, human health. I still see that there are some, I would say, in a way, a silo approach dealing with concept or economical concept, like, for example, the bioeconomy. And I believe that when we are dealing with food systems, especially when we are moving into what I call innovative food systems. As an economist and a finance professor, I always see innovation is good, but at the same time, there are risks and challenges that we need to think of. And those risks and challenges, they don't only come from the same field, but they come from other fields. And the health implication could also be looked at in a transversal way. Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about food systems, it's not only about quantity of the food that we have or we develop, but also about the quality and the nutrition value of this food that we're having. So when we're moving bunch of our food systems or traditional food systems into a bioeconomy where there is a high level of innovation and transformation of the value, probably we need to also have a systematic assessment of the impact of these, I would say, methods into our health as humans. I don't know, have you thought about it with your colleagues at other organizations?
I mean, definitely we work, I think that change, and this is also the change that happens with the COP, no? I think we cannot talk about agri-food systems without thinking about healthy diets, no? And I really appreciate you make this point on the nutritional value, you know, because we have problems on two sides. We have undernutrition, but we also have overnutrition in terms of obesity, you know. So just to pick one point, I don't want to make it very lengthy. So, but thanks for making this point. There's no agri-food systems without health.
Thank you very much, Julia, for your comment. Now I would like to move straight to Gonzalo. Please, Gonzalo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rin, for the moderation of the panel, and of course to my distinguished co-panelists here for the conversation that we're having around a topic that, for me, starts with the main reason of correcting something that we're doing wrong, right? So I think it's important to position what do we need to remove from our economy, and of course, as I can imagine, of course, Fernanda will refer much more to how they're doing in terms of the cosmetic sector and everything that Natura and the other brands are doing amazingly in that sector. I want to refer a little bit about something that, of course, Jose mentioned and Elena as well, is agriculture and food systems. Tomorrow will be the big day on what we will be not only showcasing, but mostly to explain the general agenda that hopefully will take us to COP30 as a moment in which hopefully many countries in the world will enhance their NDCs connected to different topics of a food system that is absolutely broken, is a disaster. We produce, as Julia knows even much better than me, we produce enough calories for a growing population. Of course, in this moment, it's a matter of, as she said, obesity becoming a problem, but nowadays, or last year, it was 720 million people facing hunger, whereas around 3 billion people were under food insecurity. We were estimated losing about 1/3 of food in terms of loss or waste. And at the same time, the food system from farm to fork produces around 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions in total, whereas at the same time is a massive mechanism of destroying biodiversity, deforestation. It's the major user of fresh water around the world. So the system needs to be solved in many, many aspects, starting by its main purpose, that is feeding this growing population around the world in the place they are needed. So in that sense, what the COP28 presidency did, I think in a very strategic, smart way, was to position food systems or provide, let's say, for food systems, the umbrella of COP to try to canalize efforts that have been done for decades. So FAO, as well as WHO, or as well as even the Secretary General with the UN Food Systems Summit, have been doing a massive work on trying to rally these different actors' initiatives towards combining them in, let's say, one common understanding of the size of the problem and the amazing opportunities that food systems and agriculture can provide. Again, not only for the climate topic, also for CBD and its topics around biodiversity, but of course to the need of nurturing the world. So as Julia mentioned, the first link, the first story brick of this strategy was related to the Emirates Declaration on Sustainable Food, Sustainable Agriculture, Resilient Food, and Climate Action. On December the 1st, we had 134 countries signing. Honestly, when we started this program, we thought about trying to achieve more than 70. With 100, we will feel super comfortable that we will be achieving something that was meaningful. On December the 1st, 134. Tomorrow you will have a number that is, of course, bigger than that, meaning that the community at large in this context of climate discussions is understanding that the food system not only needs to be solved, but also needs to be a provider of different solutions. And in that sense, and those solutions need to be landing at the NDC's enhancement in 2025. But on the other side, we promoted a call to action from non-state actors, from stakeholders, and in that case, trying to be more ambitious than what the Leaders' Declaration is provided. We understand that the Leaders' Declaration is providing just a floor, whereas at least the call to action is reaching for a ceiling, right? And when it comes to the call to action, of course, it's providing many solutions, whereas it's about regenerative agriculture or agroecological approaches, bioeconomy, of course, being embedded into that. Of course, it's integrating the methane agenda, it's integrating everything in relation to the work of the food banks when it comes to reducing the food waste and loss. It's about stopping deforestation and then providing mechanisms for solutions like Natura is doing very well. It's everything also related to aspects in relation to aquatic blue food and regeneration when it comes to aquatic blue food. Of course, shifting diets. And I can move on in terms of different aspects of this agenda that were included into the call to action. And now we have more than 200 major signatories for this call to action. So then we can connect those two and activate the ambition loop that hopefully we might see even tomorrow or the day after, with this being incorporated in the global stocktake, because the food systems and in that sense bioeconomy must provide brilliant solutions for the fulfillment of the Paris Agreement. That's in general the dream. We know that we can count on a very active community of investors, as Jose, and of course, I think that it's a great moment for philanthropies to understand that it's a moment to blend all those aspects of finance, whether it's public or private, but I think that bioeconomy will and must provide the framework for canalizing those financial mechanisms where each of the different actors will provide the way to mobilize this agenda much faster and move forward. So that's in general. I think that we can move on to
Thank you,
Fernanda.
Gonzalo. I think you gave a very nice introduction to Natura. So Natura, private sector, and I think you seem to have found the recipe for the bioeconomy. So please tell us.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I'm not intended to describe or to define bioeconomy in a scientific way, because all my colleagues talked about that. But for Natura, we often describe biodiversity as an approach that leverages biological resources, biodiversity, and ecological process to generate sustainable products. And it's very well related to our main purpose, that it's well-being well. So it's very connected for us. We've been working with Amazon forest for 2 decades now, and it helps us to decarbonize our value chain too, because we change our formulas. We stop using petrochemical ingredients to use natural and renewable ingredients from the bioeconomy. So for us, it was a very important combined strategy. And now we are trying to invest at the region. So we installed a facility at the region, in the Amazon forest, to produce our bar soaps. And we are combining this agenda with R&D, because we are investing a lot to have the best ingredients from the bioeconomy. It's important for us to have performance in our products too. It's not only to use natural ingredients, but it's important to have performance for the consumers, because even though the consumers will not like to have our products for them, especially talking about cosmetics. So we are working hard to generate living wage for the families. We are working with more than 12,000 families at the region. We have 42 ingredients from the bioeconomy developed and using in our products, and we are planning to have something more 60 until 2030. We are working hard to achieve the goal of 1.5 degrees. So we are combining this strategy of bioeconomy with our decarbonization journey. So for me, it's very, very easy, much more easy to talk about Natura, because my colleagues talked about Natura for me. But it's very important as a Brazilian multinational company to stand in the forest, because our NDC is related to deforestation. We have a huge opportunity to sustain the forest. And now we are investing with José in a very important project to have an agroforest systems combining with palm oil, because palm oil is a very important ingredient for us, and it's huge the impact that monoculture could generate for the carbon emissions. So we are planning to have an agroforest systems to use palm oil with any other ingredients from the bioeconomy to increase the incomes for the families and to reduce the impact at the region.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. I have just one question that came to my mind now. Do you think Brazil could become the leader for the bioeconomy globally?
I think that Brazil could lead with the other countries in Latin America. We have a lot of potential considering the other countries that have Amazon forest through. We are working with the Colombia, for example, Peru, and we could together lead this agenda, but I think Brazil will be the leader, but in collaboration with the other countries at the region.
And I would like to go back to the health issues of, again, innovation and in the bioeconomy. Have you had the chance to connect with your health authorities in Brazil based on, since you are already a company, so you have certain rules and regulations that connect your activities in the health dimension, in fact?
We have a lot of advocacy agenda with the governors. When we started this journey 20 years ago, we had to work hard considering the benefit sharing access, because we are working with local communities, so we need to share the benefits with the families and the people that are living there. So we work together with the governors to influence and to sustain the money with this family. And we are working with the governors related to the carbon markets. We are just now discussing the carbon markets for the for Brazil. And we are discussing hard about the taxonomy points that Jose mentioned, because we need to accelerate this green agenda for Brazil, because we have an enormous potential, but we have to show to the world with actions, with real actions, very good projects. And I think Natura is a good example. We have a very important cases, and we have a lot of KPIs to show to the world that it's possible.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. I would like to have a question to all of you. What is missing really to scale up this economy? That, of course, there are good examples that we can share to the world, but still, what is really missing in terms of if we would like to scale it up for the next, say, call it 10 years? While I would like you to focus on the role of regulations and what type of regulations you are thinking of. So I start with you, Elena.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for your question. Before coming here, I was at the release of the joint statement, Climate, Nature and People, in a high-level ministerial meeting, and I think this is very connected to what you were commenting before on health, and it is also related to the idea of, I think, integration. We are facing complex problems because, well, we are trying to address the climate crisis, the biodiversity loss crisis, the pollution crisis, security. Food security problems. So this is really complex problems, and they will have complex solutions. It is clear that we won't have one recipe that fits everyone. But I think the concept of bioeconomy try to include this idea of integrating different problems and solutions in this holistic view. I think this is important to scale up, and part of this complexity is related also to stakeholders. I think the role of administration is key. On the one hand, because of regulations, we need to know what can be done or not, but also in fostering innovation. And our experience is that innovation is not always on what we do. Maybe there are projects that are addressing biotechnology and very innovative things, but sometimes it's not what we do, but how we do it, how we count on people, how we integrate participation, how we try to tackle barriers, gender issues, upscaling, rescaling people, capacity building, etc. So I think there is a role to play for administrations. And of course, there is a role to play for science, and there is a huge role to play for private sector. That will play a very important role in that.
Thank you very much, Elena. I would like to go a bit deeper, in fact, into the health aspect. Nowadays, we have advanced so much in terms of neuroscience. And we know exactly what are the impacts of many of the food we're eating and many of the, I would say, the pollution that we are living in, how it is impacting our brain health. So there is research on it. And I really encourage you all to see the research in this field, because, in fact, when I started reading it and integrating neuroscience in my own research, which is economics and finance, I realized that we just don't know much, and we need to really know as much to understand that our actions, being traditional actions or I would say innovative actions, could impact us not in the wanted way but in an adverse way, and we just don't know it. So we need to have, in fact, you mentioned, we are facing a complex problem and we need a complex solution, so it's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah.
Jose.
What needs to scale, correct? I would just like to add one quick answer to the answer of Fernanda. I don't think that Brazil will be the leader in bioeconomy. I think that the Pan-Amazonian region will be. But I think that we can be the leader in nature finance, and that's have no doubt. I think that Brazil will be a financial powerhouse for nature. Don't have any doubt about that. But what I think that we need to unlock, the growth of the bioeconomy, specifically in Brazil, but let's talk worldwide. Through regulations, first, enforcement of Scope 3.
Yes.
If you don't talk about Scope 3, you're ignoring all of us. That's the first point. The second is co-responsibility on the supply chains. When you European Union is making a wonderful job in greenwashing procedures, greenwashing approaches. Climate litigation is going very high. It's a problem. It's a high risk for anyone nowadays. But supply chain finance will be created when you have supply chain co-responsibilities. And finally, I think that start treating nature crimes as financial crimes as well. To have same kind of treatment of nature crimes that use the financial system to be financed, treat as the same level of reached approach than money laundering. I think that makes things up. I think that those are the three approaches that I would take on the regulatory aspects.
Thank you for your proposals, for whoever listens. So, Julia.
Thanks so much, and it's an excellent question on the regulation, because often you have a strategy, but then you don't have a regulation in place. And I can just give you actually a recent example of a Jeff mission I've done myself in the Seychelles. So there was one of the bigger farmers. I mean, Seychelles is a very small place, and he was going on and on how he wants to use biopesticides, right? But he wasn't allowed because it wasn't on the import list, no? So he wasn't allowed to import it despite he had money. And then there was COVID, so he was all desperate because he wanted to innovate. But it wasn't allowed, and he didn't know. So he's like, please help us talk to the government. No, they need to update their list because the list was like 10 years old. No, yeah. So you can never get out of the problem in some way. So I think it's really important to look at the details. And then also, I mean, FAO does actually do pilot in a couple of countries. For example, in Cote d'Ivoire, we're using organic urban waste to rear like black soldier flies for poultry feed, and then turn this into organic fertilizer. So this is just like one example, but just imagine all the regulations in my little example that have to be put in place. So maybe you're not allowed in a country to use organic fertilizer for some productivity activities, no, because there's like hygiene or other health concerns, no. So it's really rethinking, no, like Carlos, how you said, it's rethinking the enabling frameworks for countries, and this is where we need to really can't lose time anymore, no, because it's like, despite all the political commitments, unless this is fixed, no, and private sector is enabled. I mean, why would you invest as a private sector in a country, and like, let's say there's so much call for least developed country support, no? When it's under-regulated or over-regulated in some way, why would you invest money? So I think this is something we really have to have a hard talk on it, and which are actually the countries that are ready to move on and are representing an enabling environment. And that's a dialogue that needs to happen with the private sector.
Thank you very much for bringing in the private sector into the regulation dynamic, because it's important to have experiences, and also at the end it's the private sector who is going to adopt those regulations as well. So it's important that there is a kind of a co-creation there, and to move or to scale up this economy, which is still very tiny. Gonzalo?
Yeah, thank you, Rim. First, I think that the one aspect that we need to correct is the amount of subsidies that are creating the damage. So I can imagine if we relocate those $600 billion of subsidies that are related to agroforestry or food production, if we redirect that into the bioeconomy, that's it. And probably a small fraction of that would make the difference, right? It's $600 billion annually. I will friendly disagree with you, my friend Jose, because I think that, I mean, of course, we need to solve Scope 3, but how about you make mandatory Scope 1 and 2, and then Scope 3 is solved, right? I mean, the Scope 3 will take care of its own. If every single company, organization around the world has to be mandated to make Scope 1 and 2 zero, then you have no Scope 3 to take care of. Right.
if that would be a global initiative, I totally believe you, but I think that will never happen.
Sure,
That's
but-
not global. So,
Okay, yeah. But let me dream about the question that what could solve the problem. I think that maybe it could be much easier potentially to say instead of hoping that voluntarily organizations will take care of the scope 3, mandatory, you make everyone taking care of scope 1 and 2, and then it's all.
let's dream together.
Yes, absolutely.
We're getting a solution here.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fernanda?
Yes, I was thinking about that. I think that in Brazil, the main problem that we have is the land use challenges and the land use documents, because we have no exactly documents for the land use for a lot of places there. So we have a lot of opportunities, but we have a lot of constraints related to that. And we have no infrastructure. For example, we are talking about circular economy. We have no infrastructure for the waste in the country. So we have, in my opinion, a huge opportunity, but we have a lot of constraints and challenges, and we need, as companies, as individuals, to influence the governors and collaborate with value chain, work together, the financial institutions, to influence, to change this situation. But we have a lot of constraints and barriers.
Thank you, Fernanda. We have 2 minutes left, and I would like to ask the last question. What do you expect from COP28? 20 seconds each. Fernanda.
Action.
Action, okay.
Phase out.
Phase out.
Phase out of the 600 billion and reallocation of...
No, I'm talking about,
yeah.
I'm not talking about bioeconomy. You say, what do we want from COP28? Phase out fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Phase out for fossil fuel. Julia.
I would say reversing the trend of climate finance going to the agri-food system transformation, which supposedly includes bioeconomy.
Fantastic. Jose?
Thank you.
Real global South integration.
Very good, yes. Elena?
Yeah, somehow I think in the framework of ecological transition, energy transition is undergoing. We have barriers, problems, etc. But the path is established. For agricultural sector, bioeconomy, etc. We need still to imagine this future, and I hope these integrated agendas of climate, nature, and people will help to do that.
I agree with all of you. I just want to add one single word: credible action for COP28. With this, I thank you very much for this very nice discussion. I hope the best for this bioeconomy. It does not solve the conundrum I have between bioeconomy, regenerative economy, and circular low-carbon economy. I still have to do more research on this. Thank you very much for the audience, and thank you very much for the Spanish Pavilion for hosting this. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.